I'm Myriam.
And I'm Elyse. Two friends bound by the love of books.
Taking on the world one chapter at a time. This is the Book Bound Besties podcast. Hey, Book Bound Besties! Welcome to episode 11 of Season 1 of the Book Bound Besties podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Fourth Wing, chapters 31, 32, and 33. And this week, there is no chit-chat because...
we want to get into it.
Yeah, the episode is going to be intense. A lot happens, and yeah, I just don't want to wait.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Perfect. Let's hear our synopsis for chapter 31.
Okay. After reminiscing about the spicy night before, Violet puts an abrupt halt to any intimate moments with Zaden until he is willing to admit they've connected on more than just a physical level. The frustration only builds between the couple in Battle Brief. Next is the Reunification Day celebration, and Violet has an audience with the king.
All right, the pre-chapter blurb comes from the Royal Proclamation of King Tori the Wise. Honestly, like, this guy's ego must be massive because he's known as Tori the Wise. Like, what the heck?
I mean, I don't think he chose his own name.
Well, what do you mean? Like,
it was bestowed upon him by...
Okay, I mean, I don't know. I feel
or
like...
maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. Anyway, July 1st, which, let me just note, is Canada Day.
Yeah.
July 1st, the anniversary of the Battle of Arisha, is hereby proclaimed Reunification Day and will be celebrated throughout Navarre on this date every year to honor the lives lost during the war, to save our kingdom from separatists, and those saved by the Treaty of Arisha. So we know right away that this is going to be a really emotional chapter because, like, for a variety of reasons. Because if you look at our marked ones, this is the anniversary of, like, their parents' failure, basically, and the death of their parents. And then for Violet, it's also when Brennan died.
Yeah.
So,
which I didn't realize it was, like, at the end of the war.
In this battle, you mean?
Yeah. Because we knew he died in battle. We knew he died, like, as part of this in the war. But, like, I didn't know it was the day, the final day when everything crumbled, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the scene opens with Violet cleaning her room after the utter destruction she and Zaden caused by their hide the pickle shenanigans. This is something I heard, and I really, really like it, and I'm adopting it as a terminology.
I have never heard that.
You've never heard?
No.
But isn't it so accurate?
I guess they are, in fact, hiding a pickle, yes.
I just think it's so funny. I mean, like, how many ways we're going to have to come up with many euphemisms.
Yeah. Yes.
Just wait till, well, I mean, is it a spoiler? There's going to be a lot of this in Iron Flame, so.
Good.
Remember when you were just like, the spice, blah, blah, blah. Now I completely converted you.
It's really funny, like, because I am new to reading romance and stuff, and, like, at first I was like, oh, I don't know, like, it's okay. But I've come to realize that if I really like the couple, I'm, like, fully behind the spice.
Yeah.
Like, reading Silver Flames right now is probably, I mean, it's the spiciest of the ACOTAR.
I told you.
And I am fully behind those scenes. So anyway.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. Elyse FaceTimed me last night, and we're talking about where she's at in Iron Flame. And basically, like, I'm trying to...
Silver Flames.
I meant that, sorry. And I'm trying to, like, be really subtle about trying to figure out where she's at, like, asking her all these questions. And finally, I'm like, did they bang yet or not? And she's like, oh, yeah, many times. And Justin's, like, right in front of me on the couch. He's there, and he looks so uncomfortable.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love it.
He knows what I read.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so there's a knock on her door. Zaden walks into her room, and they both kind of, like, laugh at the mess that they made. Like, it's kind of cute and, like, a little, it's, like, awkward, but, like, not awkward.
I thought they dealt with it, like, super well. They were...
Well, I think they first had to be like, we're not going to make this awkward.
Yeah.
And then they
were fine. Yeah, I enjoyed
but at
their
first
chatter.
there was, like, a little,
For
like...
sure.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. And then Violet calls Zaden out on his behavior on the flight field the day before, like before they hid the pickle.
The
And
thing that I was upset about last week.
I know. I wrote this down and it was just like, okay, mystery solved. Violet is a lot more like Elyse than she is like me.
I love that. I wrote it down because I was like, I wasn't the only one.
I know. But now I'm kind of annoyed because, like, I'd like to think I could handle Zaden and he would handle me. But apparently he can handle you. He can't handle me.
Maybe he can handle both.
Okay, we're not going there. We're not going there. So they're trying to establish, Violet's trying to establish a connection with him, and she asks Zaden to tell her something real. And when he's like, okay, like what? And she's like, well, tell me what you were doing out in the courtyard after the gauntlet. And he tells her, Athebine. You can't know why or ask anything else, but that's where we were. Park this in the back of your mind for like the next 2 chapters because Athebine comes back
real soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as they're talking, Violet is like cleaning up the mess and she locates the book of fables that Mira had saved for her. And she notices that in their enthusiasm, they damaged the book by knocking it off the desk.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it's such a shame. Like it was, such an old book, blah, blah, blah. But it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Because out peeps
a little note.
Exactly. From the bindings. Exactly.
Right away, like my heart was so warmed. I was like, oh my goodness, he left a note. Like I was so excited.
Meanwhile, like my spidey senses are like, why did he leave her a note hidden in the binding of this book? Like it's very shady. How did he know that somehow the book would get damaged and she would...
Well, that he didn't know.
Yeah, but so he leaves this note in the binding of the book. In what scenario did he think that she would find the note?
I didn't take it as it got damaged in their like adventures of the previous night. I think it was already damaged and she only just noticed it.
Oh no, see, I interpreted it as having the book fall off.
Is what caused it? Maybe. I don't know. I was just excited to get a note from the great beyond.
So it's from her dad, like you said, and it's dated a few months before his death. And I'm like, this is spooky. This is weird.
Yeah.
The note says, My Violet, by the time you find this, you'll most likely be in the scribe quadrant. Remember that folklore is passed from one generation to the next to teach us about the past. If we lose it, we lose the links to our past. It only takes one desperate generation to change history, even erase it. I know you'll make the right choice when the time comes. You've always been the best of both your mother and me. Love, Dad. I have many, many, many questions.
I know. Like censorship is something that's been talked about so much and like brought up so much. Like I know we're nearing the end. I'm just like dying to know like what is happening in this world? What is the big secret? What information are we not privy to? Like anyway, but I still have to wait 2 more weeks.
Yeah, basically. But what's just really bizarre is so clearly this folklore is really important because it's this book that he chooses to hide his note in. And he highlights the fact that folklore is passed down from one generation to the next.
And it's also, this book is wiped from the library.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they talk about erasing history. So is this folklore or is it real? And then he says something about how she's the best of them, him and her mom. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
It's a very good question. I mean, she has book smarts and she has the bravery
Courage
and dragon. Like she is. The reason why she is doing so well in the quadrant is because she is both.
For sure, but he dies thinking she's going to be a scribe, so why would she need courage as a scribe?
To tell the truth.
Of what?
The realities. Well, we don't know yet, but the realities of the world. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to put the truth out there and fight for it and all of that. So
anyway, Violet reveals that her dad got really cryptic after Brennan died, and could this be because his first child was killed or because of something else? Also, like, clearly he knew something.
Yeah.
If he's passing secret notes to his daughter.
Well, he knew
from the great beyond
to save that book. He knew to hide his research on feather tails. He knew, like, he saw the cracks in in the society or whatever you want to call it. Like he knows a lot. He probably discovered things he wasn't supposed to discover.
There you go. You're walking right into the trap I'm laying for you.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of questions in the fandom about his death.
Yeah.
There are some people who wonder if maybe there was a more nefarious reason.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Very possible at this point. I mean, we know so little, so it's like hard to draw conclusions, but the way he was behaving in his last days, the fact that it's obvious he knew something, like it does feel there's definitely a possibility of outside sources.
Okay. In Violet's reflections, she's thinking about the stories that are in this book that we're really, literally about to learn about. But before we get into this, is this not giving the Peveril brothers?
What's that?
The Deathly Hallows.
Oh.
The Peveril brothers.
I don't know if that's how I pronounce it. Anyway.
That's how they pronounce it in the movie?
Yeah, probably. Okay, sorry.
How did you pronounce it?
I don't know. Now I'm doubting everything.
Oh my gosh, now you're doubting me.
No,
you're making
sorry.
me doubt myself.
Sorry. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's 3 brothers. It's a struggle for power. Anyway, so basically the story is that there was an ancient kingdom that spanned from ocean to ocean and a great war among 3 brothers who fought for control of magic in this mystical land. So far, sounds like the Peveril brothers. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this is not the Peveril brothers, but whatever.
No.
I'm like harping on it, but like I really shouldn't. Okay. So some of the fables in this book basically tell stories of the first riders who learned to bond with dragons and how those bonds could turn on the rider if they tried to consume too much power. Others talk of a great evil that spread across the land as men became corrupted by dark magic and turned into creatures known as venin, who created flocks of winged creatures called wyverns and scourged, whatever, the land of all magic in the thirst for more power. And then another fable talks about the dangers of wielding power from the ground instead of the skies, as one could easily start drawing magic from the earth and eventually be driven mad. So we're sensing a theme here. And we have talked several times over the course of this season that one of the purposes of these fables is to teach children about the dangers of too much power. And, you know, like, nobody wants to become a venin. At least that's what we think. They're, like, monsters that these kids are told are, like, they're, like, the monsters that hide under your bed. Yeah. Who's the monster that hides under our bed?
I don't know his name specifically.
No, us, like, when... Us is like Myriam Elyse, like when we were kids. Like what? Boogeyman.
Oh, the boogeyman. Okay.
Okay. I was just trying to remember. Okay, sorry.
I was like, there's a lot of mystical creatures. I don't know.
Sorry. It's one of those days that I'm going to be searching for my words, I guess. So basically, like they're in Navarre, the children are, the boogeyman for the children of Navarre are the venin.
Yeah.
And that, you know, they're taught that they don't want to ever control magic without a dragon to ground us. Like, the dragon is really this, like, humbling
because otherwise the magic will consume them and take over and everything. So
Violet's, like, thinking about all of these things, and as we know, she processes information very quickly, and she's like, okay, but, like, why did my dad hide this note in this book in particular? Clearly, Papa Sorrengail is sending us a message.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, like, we've seen, again, this concept has been like sprinkled all throughout the book, the censorship and the power thing.
Yeah,
and
even
now
Mira,
it's like
last episode.
Mira talked about it. Rhiannon talked about it. Like it's been part of it this whole way. Like there's been little different things that kind of point to these themes being important, and then finally it's like, okay, everything is together in this specific book. Like this is a sign.
Yeah,
figure it out, Violet, because I can't.
Because I am not here. So, whatever, like, they have this, like, weird thing. Violet and Zaden are talking about, I guess, like, how they were raised to fear the venin, and it's a cute little moment of intimacy
Violet
between them.
Makes a joke about Melgren, which
being a venin.
Yeah, which I thought was funny. Because he's always, we don't know much about him, but, like, he just keeps, like, everyone keeps pointing him to being, like, a big, bad dude. So I thought it was funny. Zaden talks about his father. And the quote I wrote was, he said one day there would be no magic left in the kingdom if we weren't careful. And I think that is the key to everything. And I think that might be the reason behind the rebellion. I feel like there was definitely some sort of, I don't even want to look at you as I'm saying this, but corrupted.
We've well established, ladies and gentlemen, I have an excellent
I know, you are
face.
good. You are good. But I just feel like that might be the key to like the reason behind this whole story. There obviously is a corrupt power. And if it was because this corrupt power was trying to consume more power or whatever, like that might be why there was a rebellion. That might be why the wars are happening. Like somebody is going to want to save their planet and the magic. And there's going to be somebody who wants to take all the magic for themselves. So anyway, I just felt like that sentence might be the key to this whole story.
It's not binary, is all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Like, your two options are very valid, but there's a third option that you have not thought of.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Okay.
I like surprises.
I hate surprises. It actually has taken so much like growth, mental growth and emotional growth to no longer skip to the end of a book or a chapter to know what happens next.
Oh, you used to be one of those people.
When Deathly Hallows came out, I read All Is Well. Yeah. I had to know. I had to. Anyway,
Interesting.
I've worked on that. I used to, when we'd be at a movie, in the movie theater, I would take out my phone and Google what happened at the end of the movie so that I could enjoy the rest of the movie without being stressed.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like the journey. Even if it's a stressful one, like I like the journey. And I will
It's healthy of you.
avoid trailers to not know what movies are about. Like I'll watch a bit of a trailer, and if it's enough to be like, this is a topic that I'm interested in, I want to see this movie, I will stop watching the trailer because I don't want it to be spoiled.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying to be more like you. So after this little conversation about magic and their parents, which is not an aphrodisiac, if you ask me, Zaden tries to get it on with...
Very true.
I mean, Violet tries to get it on with... Zaden tries to get it on with Violet again, and Violet's like... No, I remember what you said about me not falling for you. And she realizes that she can't do the physical without the emotional.
Like, can we talk about the restraint this woman has?
Like the conversation that's about to come?
The conversation.
No.
Is what, like, she has so much strength.
I know.
And confidence to, like, lay out, this is how I am feeling. This is what I want. If you can't give it to me, then there is no future here.
Yeah.
Like, bravo. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I would just screw the consequences and like
I know.
put my heart on the line because you saw the fan art I sent you of Xaden Riorson. Okay.
He is a pretty young man. No, I couldn't believe, like, I was so, especially after the night she just had, like, for her to, like, full on, like, hard breaks, this is where I'm drawing the line.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
So Zaden tries to convince her that, like, don't worry, you won't fall in love with me because you don't really know me. And I'm like, can this get any more cliche? This is so, like, teenage movie, whatever, you know?
Yeah. Well, we kind of said it last week, too, when he's like, you can't fall in love with me. It's just like, okay, get over yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So Violet calls him out on it. She's like, I know you care about me. And I just noted, like, what a difference the last few months have really shown for her because her confidence is through the roof. Exactly what you're saying, you know? Anyway, he doesn't take the bait about you care about me, blah, 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 this like whole back and forth. So she calls his bluff. She's like, all right, so it was a one-time thing. And then she baits him again with like so much suggestive imagery from the night before.
Banter.
Oh, I know.
Between both of them?
Burning up.
It was very, very good.
Yeah.
It was very, very good.
In
very
the end.
Descriptive.
Oh my
languages.
gosh. I just.
And it's funny because I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I've definitely told you before that like I love a slow burn because I love the tension. And then usually once a couple is finally together, like I'm happy for them, but like
You lose interest.
I lose a bit of interest. And like this scene kept the tension alive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So finally Violet's like, okay, like we're not going to bang again until I'm ready to risk my feelings. Which I'm like, okay, like good for you. Sucks for me, but good for you. And he says that with like all this pretending, because basically like the whole banter that they're doing is like, oh, I'm going to pretend I don't know what it feels like to like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, I won't get into it because otherwise I'm going to
need to take your sweater off.
So he says with all this pretending, we're probably going to just forget that like last night even happened. And in the sassiest little bit of banter, Violet takes her broken throwing target that like broke during their sexcapades the night before. She hands it to him and she goes, I never figured you for a liar, Zaden. You can get me a new one when you're ready to come to your senses. Then we'll blow off some steam. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish I had this level of confidence when I was 20.
I know. Because she is totally right. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he is fully into her too. But yeah, to be able to say it and just be like, nope, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't give me what I want, too bad. I'm not giving you what you want. Like, I could never at 20. Are you kidding?
Yeah, at 20, I was like, please love me. I'll do anything. At 30! Xaden Riorson, if I were Violet Sorrengail and Xaden Riorson were in front of me, I'd be like, do whatever you want. I am yours. I will have you in whatever capacity. Anyway, that says more about me than pretty much anything. So the scene changes and we're at lunch and we learn that King Tari is going to be making an appearance for Reunification Day. And I'm like, this is a little strange. Why is the king coming to the school?
It's super weird.
Yeah. Part of me is thinking maybe it's because, like, he wants to see the marked ones for the first time. Like, this is... Well, no, that actually doesn't make sense because marked ones would have been there 3 years ago.
No, maybe it's because he knows they're graduating?
Maybe.
I mean, he ends up, like, kind of just hanging out with General Sorrengail, which I guess makes sense. But I did think it was, like, weird.
Yeah, it was kind of random. So we get gifted because it really is a gift. The most delicious little mind-to-mind flotation.
Oh, it's so good.
That I was like kicking my heels. I just thought it was...
I loved that Violet was teasing Zaden because until she knew how to do it, he was being such a jerk, like teasing her the whole time, messing with her the whole time. And now finally she learned how to do it. And she's like, oh, two can play
this game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, like they're having this super sexual conversation mind to mind. And Riddick and Rhiannon are just talking about like outfits and part of the party and like this and that, like completely oblivious. Yeah. Except for Liam. Liam sees all.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what's going on.
He clocks it right away. It's kind of funny. It's almost like they're texting.
Kinda.
It's like it's almost
mind-to-mind texting.
Mind-to-mind. Instead of, they don't have texting, but they have mind-to-mind.
Yeah.
Which is probably more efficient.
Yeah, especially since you can, yeah, I guess you can still send pictures by text.
Well, they did. Mm-hmm. They did. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Violet's anxiety levels are rising when she realizes that we're 10 days away from graduation and from learning how far away Zaden's going to be stationed. And we also learned that today marks 6 days since Brennan's death. And she's like sitting there in class and she's thinking like, what kind of person would he be? Like, where would he be in his career? Would he be married? Would he have kids? Like,
yeah,
I think it's really normal to have these kinds of thoughts when you lose someone, especially when you lose someone so young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said 6 days, but 6 years. But yeah.
I meant that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we've established I can't speak today.
No, it's fine. I mean, mourning someone is such a journey. And
yeah.
Everyone kind of takes it at their own pace and stuff. So, but the day of is still going to be hard, no matter how many years down the road, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And little Miss Violet, she wants a distraction in the form of a tall, brooding man.
Shadow Daddy.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he doesn't want to give her this distraction. Mm-hmm. So she goes down this, like, thought spiral about why...
Right, why he wouldn't want to.
Yeah, like, is he relieving his urges? This is another euphemism.
Yeah.
With someone else, and she's, like, super jealous about it.
I found in this passage, she lost her cool so fast. Like, she she jumped to conclusions so fast. Like, she's trying to play it like she has the upper hand. And in the last scene, she did. But in this scene, she, like, totally lost her cool. The fact that she's like, oh, are you sleeping with someone? Oh, my God, it's Imogen. Like, it was so chaotic.
I
It was
know.
like, whoa.
But it was so realistic.
Oh, it was so realistic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it was just funny because it was completely in contrast to how she was in her bedroom mere hours ago, you know?
Or even in the lunchroom.
Or even in the lunchroom. Yeah.
Yeah. Zaden refuses to answer her, which I think is so cruel. And he and Violet start participating in class in, like, this weird way to, like, piss each other off, and it's kind of funny.
It's great.
And later that night, Violet is getting ready for the party. She's wearing this high neck, sleeveless top, I guess, to hide her armor, and this flowing floor-length skirt with a slit up the thigh. I'm like, this sounds really nice. I would love to wear this.
Rhiannon's too. I was like, I like these choices.
Yeah. And I love that despite her saying that it was for mobility in case of attack, she likes the slit because it shows her legs, and she's been working hard on her legs. And I'm just like, yeah, you go, girl. Like, you show off your hard work.
Absolutely.
Liam catches up to her, and Violet tells him that she was hoping that he'd be given the night off. And then she's like, yeah, but you, like, look really handsome. So we have to remember everyone in this quadrant is sexy. Like, everyone is handsome. Everyone is beautiful.
It's like a requirement.
I know. It's like there's no unattractive people here.
Maybe it's just like in Navarre in general. Like, everyone's good looking. So.
Yeah. Must be nice. They reach the party, and Violet calls out Mind to Zaden, but she doesn't get an answer. He's kind of, like, blocking her off.
Yeah. Walking into the party, I was like, oh my God, the whole school is there. And it actually made me nervous.
Why?
Because if anyone were to plan an attack on the school, this is the perfect time to do it.
Oh, yeah, but they've got wards. They're fine.
Yeah, sure. But, like, realistically, I was like, the king is there. Like, I had, like, a little pit in my stomach of, like, are they going to have this evening? Are we going to let them have this evening? Are they actually going to have this party, or is something going to happen? So as happy as I was for, like, everyone's dressed up and everything, I was just like, I don't know how long this is going to last.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know?
Liam, they're, like, at this party, and Liam's getting all of these dirty looks from officers and cadets around them because, remember, other than those in the Riders Quadrant, no one is used to seeing the marked ones. So the infantry soldiers aren't used to seeing them. The healers, I guess, kind of, like, if some of them are hurt or something. And the scribes, like, nobody is used to seeing them. And Violet hooks her arm through his in solidarity and apologizes for the treatment he's getting. And it's just such a nice evolution of her view and on this kind of out group.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice. And she realizes in that moment that all of these people in this party is to celebrate, like, the worst moment in Liam's life.
Yeah.
And she tells him that, like, he should go. He shouldn't have to deal with this. And she's trying to tell him to leave. And then she realized that none of the other marked ones are there.
I know.
And it clicks that, like, oh, this is why Zaden's in such a bad mood today. And then she really insists on Liam leaving. And Liam is so sweet and sensitive and kind. And he's like, this day is hard for you too. And I'm just like,
yeah. He's just so good to her, to everyone. I mean, just the fact that he takes, everyone is looking at him weird, and he's just, like, taking it on the chin.
Yeah.
And, like, he's not letting himself be affected by it. And then is still, on top of dealing with all of that, putting Violet's feelings and validating Violet's feelings. And it's just, like,
it's unbelievable.
He's so sweet.
This is how you know he was written by a woman. Like, I don't know anybody who's this perfect. Seriously.
I don't think anyone is this perfect man or woman. Like, how could you be? You know?
No, I know. So their conversation's interrupted by the king. And we get this interesting comparison between Lilith and the king, because the king comes and he's got all these, like, medals, and Violet's like, this guy's never even stepped on a battlefield.
I know. I love that. She was just, like, tearing him apart. I mean, in her head, but, like, tearing him apart. And it was interesting, too, because I didn't know that about him. Like, I don't know what their kingly thing is, because, like, in some other fantasy things, the king is with their army and does fight and stuff. So I didn't know anything about this king, and it's just, like, it really paints what kind of leader he is, you know? I mean, if you look at like Lord of the Rings, like Aragorn, he's like on the front lines doing his thing, and that's what makes him such an amazing king. But like knowing this guy is like hiding and not part of it and having everyone else fight, it just makes me like him so much less already, despite knowing nothing about him.
I see him like as a bumbling idiot vibe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see him as like kind of harmless, but like harmful in the sense that because he's so dumb, he's more easily controlled by those around him.
I was going to say easily corrupted.
Yeah. So anyway, Violet notices all this about the king, and then she's like, I kind of have to hand it to my mom. Like, she's got a shit ton of medals, but she's earned every single one of them.
Yeah.
I have to give it to her when, you know.
Oh, there's a reason she's the general.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure she's good at her job. I don't know that I agree with her treatment of her
children,
but
yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. So they have a conversation with the king about Violet's dragons and her powers, and the king briefly speaks with Liam, and again we see his utter strength of character, and he speaks with pride. He's not cowering, and this is like the man who completely ruined his life, or this man's government did. When Melgren asks about Zaden, Violet has this realization that like all like he's done for her, and she's like kind of listing it all in her head. And then I realized, remember when I told you, I was like, oh, I heard this like sentence and I think it's from another podcast. Like I couldn't remember it's from this book.
Oh.
And it's when others are quick to stand in front of me, Zaden always stands at my side, trusting me to hold my own.
There you go.
That's where it was from.
It's from this.
It was from this.
It's true. That's so funny.
Yeah. The king revealed that he actually made a formal request that all the marked ones be at
there.
the party.
Yeah.
And he notices that Zaden is not there. And Violet's like, oh, I saw him a little earlier.
Yeah,
and she
he
kind
must
of
be on
bends the
the
truth.
Yeah,
he's not much for parties. Yeah, exactly. And then, super weird, because I feel like Lilith is distracting the king. Like, did you get that vibe? Like, it almost felt like Lilith was, like, kind of, not wing-womaning Violet, but kind of, like, I don't know, like, just steering the king away. Being like, oh, let's go see Dane. He'll be so humbled by your presence.
I mean, I guess because if the marked ones aren't there, it just, like, shows that, oh, maybe this guy doesn't have control over them, so maybe that. But the part that I noticed even more, though, with Lilith is she is, like, talking up Violet to the king, and it made me so mad because I was like, this woman has been so dismissive to Violet, and now that the king's there, she wants to show off her daughter.
Yeah, because it reflects well on her.
I know.
Yeah.
It pissed me off so much. I was so upset. I'm like, how dare you, after the treatment that you have given your daughter this whole time, like, it isn't a reflection of her.
Yeah.
She is not the one who educated her as a cadet. So it was just like, and I mean, tale as old as time, but it was just so frustrating. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I like it when you go in a spiel like that. It's fun.
When I get mad.
Yeah. Violet is super upset with Zaden for putting Liam in this position. And Liam reveals that he's actually there by his own free will.
Yes.
And it's so adorable, honestly. Like, I don't think there's another word.
You know.
The good vibes continue with Dane being in a surprisingly nice mood, recalling that Violet hates these parties, and he's like, oh, you look so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And then he gives him an escape route.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. Suspicious?
Why? It's very weird.
Yeah.
It's very unlike Dane. This is very, very weird.
Yeah. Then Violet decides to go find Zaden, and so she tells Liam to leave her alone, and she finds Garrick and Bodhi, who are waiting.
Chilling at the parapet.
At the parapet. And they're like, don't go near him. Like, we're his best friends, and we're leaving him alone. Yeah. And then she crosses the parapet.
Before that, she says,
I'm just his. Well, she was like, I'm his, ... I'm just his.
It was so cute.
Yeah. It's so awkward.
Yeah, it was really cute, though.
Yeah. It reminds me of when Justin and I started seeing each other.
Yeah.
I was also, like, I wasn't, like, seeing this other guy. But, like, before I had met Justin, I was, like, kind of seeing this guy. But he went to school in Halifax.
Okay.
And I guess, like, it was, like, our agreement that when he would come to Montreal, like, we'd see each other. And then, whatever. He was a super nice guy. Anyway. But in the meantime, like, it's not like when he was gone, like, we weren't texting.
Yeah.
There was, anyway. So, Justin and I are starting to like date. I had just met his parents, and I'm at his house when I get a text from that other guy, and I was like, oh, like what? I'm like, what should I tell him?
Oh, you were asking Justin? Like, what do I say?
Exactly.
Hint, hint.
Exactly. I was like, should I tell him that, like, my boyfriend would be... It's so cringe. Please, I was 19.
So funny.
I was so young.
You're so funny.
I had way less game than Violet at 19.
Me too.
Anyway, so...
That's really funny.
It reminds me of that. When you're, like...
Yeah.
Not sure where you stand.
Where you stand.
So
For
awkward.
sure. I mean, Scott and I started seeing each other, and then I went leading up to me going away for 40 days. And like, we were both kind of like, what do we, like, we had seen each other maybe for like a month and a half before my leaving. So it was like so early, but I was like falling so hard and so fast. But I was like, I don't want to like say anything or like tell him I love him before going away. I don't want it to be because he's going away. And like, I just didn't know what parameters to like put on our relationship.
So what'd you do?
Well, I mean, we were saying we were dating, and then when I was away, like I wrote to him every day and I FaceTime him almost every day. Yeah. It was not like, it was
not chill.
No, it was not chill, but it was just like, my intent was like, I'm graduating college. I'm going to do a show in Europe, in Scotland. My first like costume design outside of school, set design outside of school. I'm going to do a show there, and then I'm going to travel. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to have parties. And I'm going to meet boys, and it's going to be amazing. And then I like fall in love with this boy back home, and I was just like, well,
what a waste.
This trip, this isn't the trip that I was going to do. So instead of going out and partying with other boys, I was like sitting in the hostel FaceTiming Scott because I wished to be like that he was with me. You know? Anyway.
It's such a blessing and a curse that we met our husbands so young. There's a term. I don't know if it's like an Irish term or whatever, but it's to be worldly, and it's just to be like a little, to be promiscuous.
Sexually explorative. That's what the guys who fucked always says.
Oh, to be sexually explorative? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so part of me is like, we could have been more worldly.
Oh, yeah, I think I would have been had I not met Scott so young.
Anyway. Awards?
Yeah. Most romantic. He never asked this of me, never asked it of anyone, but I told him I would keep you safe, and that's what I'm doing, keeping you safe. Liam says that to Violet.
Mine is a very rom-com line, and it's when Violet tells Zaden, and we'd have all the time in the world to figure it out if you'd stop acting like such an emotional chicken shit and just admit that you're going to fall for me too if we keep this up.
That's good.
It reminds me of when Hermione tells Ron, just because you've got the emotional capacity of a teaspoon, or what was it? What did she tell him?
Oh yeah, that's what he says.
What is that? Is it in Goblet of Fire? Yeah, it's Goblet of Fire because it's after Cedric Diggory dies. Yeah. Cho Chang. Anyway.
So good.
Yeah.
Funniest? When Violet makes Zaden choke in class.
That's funny. Mine is when they're in class and she goes, "Take me to bed." And then he says, "It might be awkward in front of all these people."
It's good. Spiciest? Just the whole part where Violet and Zaden descriptively not remember the night before.
Same. I wrote that.
The whole thing.
That whole conversation.
It was very nice.
Yeah, mine was a tie between that and the mind-to-mind conversation they had at lunch.
Oh, yeah. Also very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Yes. Chapter 32, we get another deliciously spicy scene. Mm-hmm. And so this spicy scene is brought to you by Smoke Show Hot Sauce. And like we said last episode, we have promo code BBB15 for 15% off. And you can find that in our show notes. Also, it's very delicious. We used it to make spicy margs last week. You can put it on sandwiches, eggs.
In all your cooking, really.
Yeah, sauces, marinades. I put, is it Frank's when the girl goes, "I put that shit on everything."
Yeah.
Well, I do that with Smoke Show.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's.
Chapter 32. Violet saunters onto the parapet to get to Zaden. Opening a window to her heart, she delivers a beautifully romantic confession. Walls start coming down as they make their way to Zaden's room, where they spend the beginning of a blissful evening before being interrupted by Garrick's knock at the door.
Metaphorical walls.
Oh, yeah.
And it was blissful indeed.
It was. They had a fun night.
Did they ever? The pre-chapter blurb comes from the Addendum 4.2 of the Treaty of Orisha, and it says, "As for the 107 innocents, the children of the executed officers, they now carry what shall be known as the rebellion relic, transferred by the dragon who carried out the king's justice. And to show the mercy of our great king, they will all be conscripted into the prestigious Riders' Quadrant at Biscayath, so they may prove their loyalty to our kingdom with their service or with their death." I find this really interesting that in the addendum, they call them innocents. Mm-hmm. So I love that, like, they're innocents, but they're still getting punished.
They're still getting punished and treated as though they are not innocent. They're being, like, so
tested,
exiled, and looked down on as if they were the traitors themselves. Like, it's oof.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So we're on the parapet. Right after where we left off last chapter.
Yeah.
And Zaden is sitting there staring at the moon, being all moody.
And we have a really different Violet walking the parapet in this chapter compared to conscription days. She's stronger. She's more confident. She's in a dress. She's barefoot.
Yeah.
And she sees him there, like, all lonely and broody. And she realizes that he has actually had no one to support him through his grief.
Yeah.
Unlike her. And it's so sad. Like, they both, this day is so difficult for both of them. They've both suffered so much. But she realizes that, like, even though she's got a shitty mom, she's had her mom, and she has her sister, she had Dane. Yeah. Like, she's had a support system in a way that he didn't.
Yeah. That's actually an amazing, like, comparison. And not only does he not have a support system, but he is also supporting 107 other
Yeah,
people
he's got that burden as well. It's so true.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I just want to give him a hug.
Yeah.
Other things.
She looks out at him and she says, like, I'm in love with Zaden.
She stops lying to herself.
Yeah.
And she's thinking that she's already done what he told her not to do, meaning she's fallen in love with him. So why not twist the knife further and just sleep with him already? And when he notices her, he jumps to his feet.
I know.
And yells at her to turn around. His eyes are wild. And ladies and gentlemen, this is romantasy code for he cares for her.
Yes.
Wild eyes in the face of danger.
Yeah. Is that a thing that's used a lot? Yeah.
I think so.
Probably. Yeah.
Then we get, you're going to be the death of me. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we're getting that a lot.
So much.
Yeah.
He says it so much. I think he could actually stop saying it for a bit. But I found it really cute because this whole time, like this whole next exchange, it's just like them worried about each other falling and each other dying. And like, they just care about each other so much.
I know. Then she puts her heart on the line. And she gives the big romantic speech, which I really like.
That so much.
Okay, I love that too, but I also don't, because when I got engaged, I made the big romantic speech.
You proposed to Justin?
I did not.
Okay.
But that was how he... So basically what happened was, we were in Italy. We'd been dating for a really long time at this point, and everyone and their mother was like, you're going to get engaged in Italy. And I didn't want to get my feelings, hurt. I didn't want to get my hopes up. So I was like, no, it's too... Also, Justin's the kind of guy that, like, if you tell him something, like, he's very contrarian, like, just to be annoying. So if anything, I thought he would pull, like, what Ryan did with Jen, where he proposed to her when they came back from, like, a trip.
Yeah.
To throw her off. So I was like, if anything... That's a Justin move too. Whereas Ryan is really sweet and did not do that to be a caca. Justin would do it to be a caca, like on purpose. Anyway, I love him very much, but I know him. And so we're there and we're in Florence and the vibes are like terrible between us. Like we had been in Rome before, the vibes were amazing. I was like, we're so in love. This is amazing. We're the most romantic place ever. Yeah. We get to Florence, vibes are terrible. And we go to this. So he wanted to like walk on the Ponte Vecchio, which is where like all the jewelry shops are. And he points out a ring, a diamond ring. And he's like, oh, you would like that, except you would want like this, and this different. And I was like, that's really weird. Justin is the kind of guy who like clams up anytime you talk about engagement. So I was like, why is he bringing up? So now my mind's like spiral. And I'm like trying to play it cool. I was literally Violet in like the scene before where I was like trying to be cool, but like not being cool. Anyway, we get into a really big fight. He tells me he hates to break it to me, but he's not proposing on this trip. And I was like, I know, you don't need to rub it in my face. Anyway, really big fight. We make up. Later that afternoon, we're going to a park. And he's grumpy because I said it was going to be a 25-minute walk, but I didn't realize it was a 25-minute car ride. And we had to get a taxi. Anyway, he was really annoyed with me. Then when we get to the park wanted 10 euro each to get into the park. And he's like, this is ridiculous. So I'm trying to like salvage the vibes of like the afternoon since like our morning was ruined by like the fight over getting engaged. And he's like not giving me anything. And we're walking along this like meadow. And there's nobody around us, which is really shocking because we were in Italy in August, like tourist central. Yeah. And he starts asking me if I think we have what it takes to be together forever. And I kid you not, I was like, this guy's going to break up with me because we had such a terrible day.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm there and I'm panicked. And I am coming up with as many reasons as I can for like why we should be together. Like we've been through so much and like we made so much progress and we've grown up together and we're growing together and blah, blah, blah. Like we have this great life and we have the dog and we have a house and we have, all these things. And he keeps egging me on to come up with more reasons why we should be together forever. And I'm thinking like, I'm like, my relationship is on the line.
That's so stressful, Justin.
Yeah. And so I am doing all these things and I'm getting also, so like part of me is like panicked and I'm trying to like justify my 8-year-long relationship. The other part of me is starting to get really annoyed that I even have to do this. And then he stops walking. So I turn around like ready to give him shit for like not keeping up. And he's on one knee. And all he says is, Myriam, Gad, will you marry me? And I'm like, the first words out of my mouth, I think I said, are you serious? And then the second words were, you are such a caca.
I was going to say, you're such an asshole.
Yeah, those are the first two things that came out of my mouth. Because I was so shook. Like, what an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so I don't think I've ever heard that full story.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I've told it so many times.
That is very funny.
Yeah. All of our friends who hear this story are like, we are not surprised Justin did this. Like, this is very much a him move.
Very Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to say that I made the really nice speech when I got engaged.
Yeah,
because I did. I gave all the reasons why we should be together forever.
Scott didn't do a speech, though. He just asked. It was very, he was very nervous, and he was even getting the words out. You could hear how nervous he was. But
that's so cute.
Yeah, it was cute. But we were also in Europe, but in Germany. So.
But you guys are also much healthier.
You guys have a healthy relationship.
Yeah, but like we're very chaotic.
Oh, okay.
Like
I think we're just very calm people.
You are.
Yeah.
Like we're on two completely different ends of the spectrum. Like you guys, when you disagree, you calmly explain why you each think something.
Yeah.
And then you come to a rational conclusion.
Yeah.
Justin and I burn the house down.
Right.
Metaphorically.
Well, that's why you and I make such a good balance. So
no,
there
I
you
know.
go.
We're yin and yang. It's perfect.
Exactly. All right. Where were we?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, we're on she put her heart on the line. She makes a big romantic speech.
Yes.
And then she tells him that she's ready to risk her heart. And I think it's because she's thinking with her hoo-ha.
Well, definitely has something to do with this situation.
Yeah. They have this super cute exchange about the jealousy with Imogen. And I just think it's so, like, early dating. Yeah. Because Zaden is reassuring her and telling her that he only has eyes for her.
Yeah,
just like,
super cute. And we find out that Imogen is actually into Garrick.
Yeah.
So.
Like you.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I like Zaden. I just want to see more of Garrick, too.
Mm-hmm. Then they decide they're actually going to do this. And I think they mean they're actually going to start a relationship. Like, I'm not really sure, like, what they're...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to start a relationship.
That's kind of how I took it, too. Yeah, they were like, you know what? Like, if we're going to do this, let's do this.
Yeah.
Know?
And I'm very cliche. I'm super cheesy. I love, like... Anyway. Love all those things. Mm-hmm. I love when the guy falls first. And when he tells her, I've wanted you from the first second I saw you. I know this is not realistic. Okay, I know. But, like...
Oh, I think you could want someone from the first second you saw them.
I guess.
But, like, for real feelings to come into play, like, you need to get to know the person.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think you could definitely be like, oh, that person, I want that person.
From the first second you see them? I guess maybe.
Yes, but it'll come from more of a place of lust at first until you actually have an interaction.
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
Then Zaden tells her, like, get back on solid ground. And she realizes that he like still wants to wallow by himself. And she's like, nope, come with me.
Yeah. Yeah, they like skip across the parapet. All cute.
Yeah. And then he's like, don't ever put your life at risk over something as trivial as talking to me again. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, come on. That's not trivial. Talking to you is not trivial. You always give us the best banter.
Yeah, it's so good. And I mean, he was being the dramatic one out on the parapet in the middle of the night. Okay.
He's just being a little emo boy.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I like him so much.
I think so. Which, like, I'm not into emo boys. So I don't know why I'm so into him.
Have liked emo boys for a long time.
Yeah. Violet lowers the temperature by teasing him about how much fun next year's going to be because, she's going to do all this crazy stuff and he's not going to be around to stop her. And they joke about how Zaden's going to love getting Liam's letters, like, telling on her. And then Violet drags him to his room. Mm-hmm. Big eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are many things about Xaden Riorson that are hard to believe, okay? Like, or that make it really obvious that he is a man written by a woman. He's hot. He's smart. He's capable. He's got a sick body. He's got great banter. But the most unbelievable thing about Xaden Riorson is that he's a 23-year-old boy who lives on his own and keeps his room clean.
I knew that's what you were going to say. I think, though, in a military context, it makes sense.
Why? Why does it make sense?
Because it's part of, like...
We have not heard anything about bed making or any sort of discipline in that regard. In fact, it's almost like it's a hierarchical society, but there's a little bit of anarchy there because they can wear whatever they want and they kind of flout the rules and, like, whatever. So
yeah. I guess I just took it from what I know of, like...
the actual military.
Earth's military is like you have to keep your bed clean, you have to keep your space clean and everything. So I was just like, yeah, he's, wing leader and he's on top of his shit and he takes it seriously. So, but you're very, very right. 23-year-old men are. 30-year-old
men are disgusting.
I have to say, Scott is really, really good at keeping things clean. This morning he like swept and washed the floors before going to work. Yeah.
What a keeper.
Yeah, I know. Just because they talked about how his room is bigger because he's a wing leader and stuff, I realized only now that Violet has shown no interest about looking forward towards leadership.
I think she's so focused on survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. It didn't click until that moment. I was like, oh, but Violet would probably be an amazing leader, but she just hasn't thought about it.
Interesting.
So
that's a good point. Violet instructs him to sit on the bed, and she says she's going to take care of him. And he's like, his eyes like pop. She's like, no, not like that. Mm-hmm. She takes his boots off, and she takes his flight jacket off, and he reveals that flying usually helps him cope with the memories of the day. And we learn that his super sexy scar. Do you forget that he has a scar?
Yes, I forgot he had a scar until that moment. I was like, oh yeah.
And it comes from Sigala threshing. Yeah. And I just love this chapter so much because it's so sweet and romantic and cute, and I just can't cope.
It's very tender. This whole like moment.
I mean, it's tender, but it's.
Well, it gets spicy, but like at first I think it's really sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, Violet declares her love for him, and then they get it on.
Oh, yes, they do.
And somehow this scene is actually, I find, even more amazing than their first time. Like, their first time was delicious. Like, I love reading that scene just because it's so desperate.
Yeah.
But here, it's, like, desperate for, like, that was desperate, like, physically desperate. Like, they just, like, need each other and they can't get enough of each other and they just can't believe, like, this moment is happening.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. And, like, here, it's, like, they're
connecting emotionally. Yeah. Which is so nice.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that she tells him she loves him and he doesn't say it back?
I cringed.
You cringed?
Yeah. I just think it's really awkward to say I love you, like, when you're having sex, like, for the first time. Like, that's just such a inopportune moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That might not be the best time for the first time.
Yeah. But he liked it.
Yeah.
It spurred him on.
Yeah. He's like, I need you or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she goes, oh gods, and he said, which one are you calling out for? With his head between her legs.
Yeah.
Because it's just you and me in this room, Vi, and I don't share. Get me a fan. Get me a fan.
Yeah.
Then he proceeds to count the number of orgasms.
Yeah.
Like,
good for them.
seriously.
Yeah.
And I just noted down, like, the sexy time is so fun to read because, 1, it's super hot. 2, there's so much emotion. I love it. 3, the teasing, the joking. It's just, like, so fun.
Yeah.
And then...
Their banter that, like, we already love continues, so it's, like, cute. Yeah.
And then she comes again, breaks the window. And Rebecca, you shady lady. Violet has 4 orgasms, and they're still going. And, like, I love romance novels. And I love fantasy romance novels. But her poor hoo-ha. It must be so sore.
She's enjoying herself.
But, like...
Maybe she comes easily.
Maybe. I feel like they've been going at it.
Yeah,
like,
a long time.
A long time.
Like hours, yeah.
Well, maybe not hours.
Well,
by the end, yeah. By the time
end,
they're like at 5
because it's like 4 in the
something.
morning. Yeah. Like, it's been a while.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
I mean, we know she's
That's
fit
stamina.
and exercising her muscles. But...
I mean, him too. They both must be in, I mean, we know they're in great shape.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then Garrick knocks at the door and says, full quadrant formation, we are under attack.
Like, part of me is like, that's such a cockblock, but like, nah.
Well, no, I mean, they've
had their fun.
They've had their fun. They've had their fun. And also, in the context, like, it sounds very real. I believed it.
Yeah, it's very life or death.
I thought it was life or death. I was like, oh, I knew they weren't going to be able to have their evening. And then, well, we find out in the next chapter, but...
Yeah.
It's a good chapter.
Great chapter.
All right.
Definitely one to earmark.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it should be mandatory reading for, like, men.
That chapter?
Just, like, all spicy chapters, I feel like are just, they're like an educational tool.
Yeah, I guess it could be, yeah.
It's just these women, like, I was telling Justin the other day, I was like, first of all, these women must have incredible sex lives, like, number one. The women writers.
Yeah, but maybe not. It could go either way. I think it could go either way.
You think their husbands don't read this shit and are like, oh, let me do what your very sexy male main character does that clearly all these women who read your books, like, die
maybe.
for.
Maybe. I don't know. Because it's either it comes from a place of, like, this is what my sex life is and this is, like, the best thing I've ever had and I'm going to write it that way, or it comes from a place of, like, sexual frustration and be like, this is what I wish my sex life is, and that's why they write it that way.
Yeah, but I just think that because they've written these books, their husbands for sure have read these scenes. And so if anything...
You would hope, but yeah.
Yeah, you would hope. But if anything, let's say this is not their sex life and it is, like, option 2 of what you're saying. It's an instruction manual. Like...
It's very descriptive.
It is. So they'd have to be really dumb to not...
Yeah,
pick up
I
what
agree.
they're throwing down.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. They should be supporting their author wives. In more ways than one.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I'm really not feeling well today, and so I feel like I'm extra unhinged. Like,
no,
I feel like...
great.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. My poor sister who edits this podcast.
I know. Yeah. Awards?
Yeah.
Okay, awards. Romance. I wrote down the entire speech that Violet says. I don't know that I need to read it, but just go back and read it. It's so nice. I loved it so much.
I wrote it. I wrote it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I read it?
You can. I'll stumble through it. So.
Okay, so maybe you didn't write this part, but this is the part I wrote. I said, you want me. And no, I'm not just talking about in bed. You want me, Xaden Riorson. You might not say it, but you do one better and show it. You show it every time you choose to trust me, every time your eyes linger on mine. You show it with every sparring lesson you don't have time for and every flight lesson that pulls you away from your own studies.
Do you want me to read the last part?
Sure.
Okay. You show it when you refuse to touch me because you're worried I don't really want you. Then show it again when you take the time to hunt down violets before a leadership meeting so I don't wake up feeling alone. You show it a million different ways. Please don't deny it.
Yeah.
I know. It's a good speech.
It's a great speech.
It's a good
But there's like another part of it also.
Oh yeah, later on, but I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to Auscam. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
going to write that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the first time we spoke French on the podcast.
No, I said it a few times.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, what did I say? I don't remember. I've said it a few times, but I try not to.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh no, should I have not said that? Anyway.
That's fine.
Okay. That's one. Though I do think we're going to have to work on the fireworks show, or people will always know what we're up to. Oh, what we're doing.
That's funny.
It is funny.
When they're banging.
Yeah.
Mine is when they're like crossing back the parapet and Zaden goes in a fucking dress and Violet turns around. It's a skirt, actually. Because why do boys not know articles of clothing?
It's true. It's funny.
You know what
That's
actually
really
makes
funny.
me laugh so hard? Justin calls pads tampons.
Oh, that's funny.
So there was a point in time where Justin was like a really heavy sweater.
Yes.
And he'd
I
put
remember.
pads in his shirts,
Shirt,
like when he
yeah.
went to work. And he always tells people, yeah, I put tampons in my shirt. And I'm just like, it doesn't work. You can't say that. Like, people are going to think you're dumb.
I put tampons in my armpits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember him doing that. That's really funny.
It worked really well.
Yeah. And then spiciest, I just put big wide eyes because, let's be honest, the whole sex scene.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I wrote, I appreciate the elevation to deity, but my name will do.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to change it up, you know? Like, I'm the one that's feral for these spicy scenes, so I had to, like...
Find something else.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's good.
Chapter 33.
The rude 4 a.m. awakening for formation turns out to be the final task in the war games. With Violet wearing Zaden's jacket, it doesn't take long for people to clue in to this new coupling. Dane and Zaden go head-to-head over Violet's safety, but in the end, Violet has made her choice.
The pre-chapter blurb comes from Major Offrenda's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant Unauthorized Edition, and I just noticed that we've never had the authorized edition. It's always been the unauthorized edition.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
across
notice
the
at
board.
all.
Yeah, super weird. Anyway, it says, the inability to control a powerful signet is just as dangerous to a rider as everyone in their vicinity as never manifesting one. Which is kind of weird, because now that we've read the whole chapter, it's kind of like
Doesn't
random.
have to. I know. Well,
Yeah.
when I read that, I was like, uh-oh. Like, what? Did the lightning do something bad? Like,
Yeah, but we don't know. There's nothing to indicate that way.
yeah. I mean, maybe later, but not in this chapter, really.
Right. So Violet and Zaden are rushing to get dressed. In the cutest move that every girl is sighing over, he gives her his jacket because he can't stand the thought of her being cold.
So cute.
I know.
So freaking cute.
And you know that they live in a warm climate because here in Canada, girls are cold all the time.
It's just day-to-day life.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my gosh. Like, it's like maybe like -2. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice out.
Yeah. So they slip out into the halls and like Violet's like, oh, it's perfect. Like, it's chaos. No one's going to notice. No one's going to notice me walking out of his room. No one's going to get it. Violet.
Zaden tells her that if they're under attack, the older years will go to Midgard posts, and then he kisses her goodbye, says something about wanting her will be the death of him, which we've said, he's been saying it a lot. We don't like that. And like you said, in the chaos, nobody notices that they're like together.
Yeah.
Except for Rhiannon, who notices that Violet is wearing Zaden's jacket.
Right away.
Yeah.
As she should. As a best friend should.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But-
She's like also been like, come on, like she wants this for her, you know, like she's excited for her.
And that whole like exchange of like, maybe because of the signet and the fact they were wearing a third-year jacket and like
Yeah, and it says fourth wing, and it says
fourth
wing
wing.
leader.
Yeah. So
There's
good.
really only one person it could be.
Yeah. And then she's like, so how was it? Like right away. It's like, and it's cute too, because despite like, we don't really know what's going on yet. And we know they're getting into formation, but they're still taking the time to like have this very like human girl talk chat,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
I mean, the world could be ending, but if one of my friends slept with like the guy,
Yeah.
I'd want details.
Yeah. And I feel, especially in their context, like they need to take those moments.
Yeah.
Because if the world is ending, you know,
YOLO.
YOLO.
So it turns out it is just the war games, and Violet and Rhiannon's conversation is interrupted by none other than Dane. And I love how Rhiannon, like, she covers for Violet, hiding the identifying markers of Xaden's jacket.
So funny. She's just, like, leaning on her, like, oh, hey, Dane, what's up?
Dane's dad comes out with the scenario for the war games. So the wards are falling. There has been an unprecedented multi-level attack along their borders, putting villages under siege from drifts of Griffin riders. Mass casualties among civilians and infantry are already being reported, as are the deaths of multiple riders. They're sending wings in every direction. Mm-hmm. Then he specifies that 4th Wing will be going to the southeast, and each squad will pick which outpost they reinforce within that region. Choices are first come, first serve. Wing leaders are assigned where they're going to be, though, for, like, strategic purposes, I guess. And I found that was really weird. Like, why 4th Wing gets called out? That was great English, Myriam. Why is it that 4th Wing
gets called out? Yeah. And I think he has, like, a bit of a...
Creepy smile?
Yeah.
So, I have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling, too. I'm like, well, it's Dane's dad. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really scared for the next...
The apple must not fall far from the tree.
Yeah. I'm scared for the next chapters.
Yeah. So they're told that Xaden's headquarters are going to be in Athabine, and that wing leaders can build a headquarters squad with any riders from their wing. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's a name we've heard multiple times, even in the last 2 chapters. Like,
Yeah. Well, it was funny because, we said it 2 chapters ago, that's where Xaden's been going on a secret mission. But, like, I like the way Rebecca Yarros, like, was like, oh, how do you say Athabine?
Athabine? I don't know.
She's like, oh, Athabine. That's where Xaden has been going. Like, thanks for the hint, you know? Like, it was good.
We also learned that this is going to be a 5-day long exercise.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's so long.
I mean, I guess it's good. Prepares them for...
Yeah, I guess it's very realistic.
Real war.
Exactly. They get 30 minutes to get ready, and Violet has to take half of that time to wrap her body up, get dressed, and braid her hair. And then she mind-to-mind makes sure that she's going to see Xaden before they leave on the flight field. And I love this little thing. Like, I think it's so random, but is realistic. They grab rations that they're going to have their breakfast mid-flight.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, okay. Nice little detail.
Yeah.
It's a nice little sprinkle of normalcy. And, like, I'm like, yeah, it's a question I would have. Because food has been so important. Like, there's so many conversations, around, like, meals and what they're eating and nutrition. And anyway, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, considering how fast everyone, like, was able to get ready to go out in formation, like, obviously they're running their stuff properly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Rhiannon looks out onto the flight field and tells Violet that she thinks they're going to win. She has actually no doubt in her mind that they're going to win, which I was like, good for you. Love the confidence. And she thinks that she'll get squad leader next year. And then she turns to Liam and she's like, oh, how about you? Like, do you want to be in leadership? And he's kind of like, I don't know, like kind of weird about it. Like, not really into it. And Darna is ready and saddled up.
So freaking cute.
Yeah, Zaden made her one that hooks onto
Terrence so she could keep up. Like, that is my heart. Oh my God.
If we didn't love this boy enough already.
I know.
We love
that
him
really
now.
sealed the deal. Yeah. Just so cute.
So Dane is kind of telling everyone, get ready for a 4-hour flight, blah, blah, blah. Zaden interrupts, and Violet thinks that he's coming to say goodbye, but he's actually stealing her to be a part of his headquarters squad with Liam and Imogen. And Dane's like, no way. No.
Yeah.
Athabine is beyond the wards, like, no way. And
which I didn't know. I didn't realize.
Oh.
Like, it does add a layer of, like, oh,
danger.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm so upset by the next exchange because basically Zaden's like, you don't seem to have a problem with me taking Liam.
Yeah.
And Dane's like, Liam's the best cadet among first years, even with you assigning him his, like, guard duty over Violet. So clearly you're saying you don't think Violet's any good.
Yeah. The double standard, like, hurts.
I know. Zaden is, like, really quick, super quick response. He's like, Soren Gale wields lightning. And then he uses the Terran and Sigale excuse. But this time, Dane's like, nuh-uh. Not good enough for me.
I know. Well, he basically, like, villainizes Zaden. Is that the right word? Yeah, so he, like, villainizes Zaden and, like, he paints him to be this awful dude and that he has this long con, whatever, which is kind of like what Mira was saying a couple chapters ago. But it's just, like, if that is the truth, like, Zaden is very good at lying because he has shown zero reason to believe what Dane is saying.
Yeah.
Like,
and Violet even, like, agreed. Like, she plays the peacemaker. She's like, he's protected me, and, like, I trust him, like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she tells Zaden, if you want me to come, like, I will come.
Yeah.
And then he softens, and I'm a puddle. Yeah. Because this is the first time that he's shown kind of any vulnerability, softness.
When his, like his eyes soften when he looks at her. Yeah. Enough to make your heart skip a beat.
Absolutely. This exposes, unfortunately, though, the truth between them. And
then Dane realizes.
Yeah.
Okay, but Dane, in this moment, backs down quite fast.
Oddly so, eh?
Weirdly so.
Yeah, he goes...
Really unlike Dane so.
He goes, if he's what you choose, then I guess that has to be enough for me, doesn't it? Yeah, Dane. What else would there need to be for it to be enough for you? Like, that's such a weird thing to say.
So weird.
Then he says, even weirder, he tells Violet he'll miss her.
Oh, he said, I miss you.
No, he says, I'll miss you.
Really? I read it as I miss you.
No. I will miss you.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Yeah. Spooky, eh?
Yeah. Okay. Where are they going? Okay. That makes me, like, rethink everything. Yeah. I really read it as I miss you, as if he's, like, still lamenting their childhood.
No, I think no. I know for a fact it's I will miss you.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very bizarre.
Okay.
And then the chapter ends. That's it. 6 more chapters.
Dum dum dum. I know, and I feel like we're really gonna get into the
meat of it. Yeah, this is very SJM-esque. A lot of shit goes down in the last 6 chapters.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for you because next episode we are leaving on a
rough one.
Really rough note.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm excited and scared.
You should be. I say that with all the love in my heart. Okay, last awards of the day.
Last awards. Most romantic. Zaden throws one of his flight jackets over me, trapping my hair.
Mine is just following that when he says, I can't stand the thought of you being cold. Yeah.
It's a cute gesture.
It is.
Funniest?
Mine's from Rhiannon when she says, I wish someone made me shatter windows.
That's funny. Mine's just before that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's I knew it. Rhiannon grins. Tell me it's good. Violet's like, I broke his window.
We're very aligned today.
And then spicy, I didn't put one.
I really struggled to find a spicy line.
I flipped through it a few times and I was like, I don't know.
I found a spicy sassy, and it's when Dane is like, oh, do you really think like that Taryn and Sigale can't last the 5 days? And Zaden looks at him and is like, you feel like asking her yourself? Like, I thought it was kind of like
that. It's true. Actually, that was a good spot.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. Next week, we're going to be reading chapters 34, 35, and 36. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate this podcast, leave a review. It'll help other people find us. By the way, if you are interested in supporting our podcast, we just launched our Amazon storefront where you can find some of our favorite things, books we love, and more. You can follow us on Instagram at Book Bound Pod and on TikTok at Book Bound Besties. Tag us. As always, we keep asking it because it's so much fun, and we've been, like we say every week, chatting in the DMs, and it's been awesome. So tag us in your reaction videos if you're reading along with us. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email us at bookboundpod@gmail.com. Let's get to reading.